Could this be Peter Dutton's?
Annus horribilis.
I finished off the last video thinking that perhaps that may have been it for a while and that Dutton might have melted away into the shadows to lick his wounds. Nah. Samantha Maiden, who Dutton has previously referred to as
the Mad Witch,
wasn't about to let the heat die, rolling out another exclusive. Having fled his electorate of Dixon in the midst of a
very major event for Queensland. It's a very serious event.
In favour of some canapes and fundraising with Sydney elites, Dutton has tried to defend his taxpayer-funded trip.
You came under some criticism for going to a Justin Hems party last week, leaving Queensland. Why'd you go to that?
Well, Pete, it wasn't a party, it was a fundraising dinner.
It wasn't a party, it was a fundraising dinner. Strong defence. And then he also tried to defend it by saying that
I had diary commitments, including lunch with an archbishop and a number of meetings otherwise in Sydney.
But as news.com.au and Samantha Maiden have revealed, the man organising the meeting with church leaders, a property developer, made contact with Peter Dutton's office ahead of the meeting about a potential donation. So really starting to sound like a fundraising trip all round. His performance on Sunrise, where he popped up to answer questions almost a full week after the fundraiser, was a case study in deflection from a man who wasn't going to take any accountability for his actions.
You've copped criticism for flying out of Queensland just ahead of Cyclone Alfred's arrival to attend a fundraiser in Sydney with billionaire Justin Hems. Do you think that was a good idea in hindsight?
Well, we've got a fundraiser. I don't have the millions of dollars coming from the CFMEU and the other unions. And
Peter Dutton and the Liberal Party don't receive millions of dollars of donations from the unions. They receive millions of dollars from wealthy individual donors and corporate donations funneled through fundraising entities instead. Here's a fun fact. In the 2022 election, the Coalition spent $132 million compared to Labor's $116 million. And the 2022 election is the first federal election since 2010 where the party with the biggest wallet didn't win.
The Prime Minister attends fundraisers.
I'm sure he does, but it appears he may have had the good sense to cancel his plans. And really, the old, but he was doing it too excuse is a bit much, don't you think?
Fundraisers, I'd prefer not. I'd be much happier with public funding, but...
Look, I'm sure you would prefer more public funding to campaign with, but I have to ask, wasn't the most recent bump enough for you guys?
That's the way in which the rules are written at the moment. I went to a briefing in Brisbane on Monday which provided details of what was due to happen on Thursday and Friday of last week. I went to a briefing on Tuesday morning with the Premier. I went to Sydney on Tuesday morning after that briefing and I came back on the first flight on Wednesday. And obviously the event that took place with Cyclone Alfred happened on Friday, Saturday and Sunday, and still the aftermath, as you can see behind me now. So I wasn't absent from my community.
Absent, not present in a place, at an occasion, or as part of something. You were absent, and had you not been caught out, I reckon there's a better than average chance you wouldn't have cancelled the remaining lobbyist lunches and fundraising dinners you had planned for the rest of the week either.
And I just think the fact that Jim Chalmers and Anthony Albanese are looking for political advantage at the time of a natural disaster reflects more poorly on them than anyone, I would have thought.
Okay. Mr Dutton, we thank you very much for your time today.
Even in just his brief appearance there, you can see why he largely sticks to appearances on media that are a little more coalition-friendly, shall we say, and why he'd need to be dragged kicking and screaming to appear at something like the National Press Club. And then, just as I thought this had all finished up, The Guardian ran a story highlighting that Peter Dutton has repeatedly charged taxpayers for flights to coincide, and I'll quote The Guardian here, with intimate and exclusive fundraising events behind closed doors, including at a men-only club in Melbourne and a private home on Sydney's North Shore. The gist of the story is that while politicians are banned from charging taxpayers for travel if the dominant purpose of the trip is to raise funds for their party, rather than parliamentary business, there is a bit of a loophole. Arrange a media interview or a press conference nearby your fundraising event and voila. Not against the rules, but it would struggle to pass the age-old pub test, I reckon. The Guardian report that Dutton's appearances at Liberal fundraisers, which were advertised several weeks in advance, coincided with in-studio interviews, speeches or press conferences in nearby electorates. These sorts of things are generally considered legitimate parliamentary business. Look, I doubt Dutton's the first or only politician to have done this, but his impeccable timing has certainly given it some attention. With cost of living top of most people's lists when it comes to election issues, I'm not too sure how many taxpayers will be all that happy to know that they've been funding Peter Dutton's flights all around the country to dine with the uber wealthy, or elites in Skyspeak, so that he can pass the cap around in order to collect sizable political donations. And as much as the electorate might not be super sold on Albo and the gang, looking at Dutton's performance over the past couple of weeks might just be enough for people to start asking themselves, do we really want to go back to this?
Annus horribilis.